Welcome to the Bible Quiz and Trivia channel. Today, we're focusing on the profound and challenging book of Job, testing your understanding of its themes, characters, and divine messages. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this video to support our content. After the quiz, share your score in the comments. We love seeing how well you do. Are you ready? Let's get started. Question 1. What is the primary theme of the book of Job? A. The loyalty of God's followers. B. The sovereignty and justice of God in the face of human suffering. C. The rewards of faithful worship. D. The history of Israel. Answer B. The sovereignty and justice of God in the face of human suffering. The primary theme of the book of Job is the sovereignty and justice of God in the context of human suffering. The narrative explores the reasons behind suffering, particularly Job's undeserved misfortunes, challenging the assumption that suffering is always a result of sin. This theme is emphasized through the dialogues between Job and his friends and ultimately through God's own response from the whirlwind, where he underscores his wisdom and control over the universe, which are beyond human understanding. Question 2. How does the book of Job begin its narrative about Job's life? A. By describing his family. B. By listing his possessions and piety. C. By detailing his daily rituals. D. By noting his lineage. Answer B. By listing his possessions and piety. The book of Job begins by highlighting Job's wealth, his family, and his reputation for being blameless and upright, fearing God and shunning evil. This introduction sets the stage for the dramatic loss and suffering that follows, providing a stark contrast to Job's initial prosperity and piety, which is detailed in Job 1-13. Question 3. Who are the sons of God mentioned in the prologue of Job? A. Angels. B. Leaders of the church. C. Descendants of Adam. D. Nephilim. Answer A. Angels. The sons of God mentioned in Job 1-6 are generally understood to be angels. This term is used in various Old Testament passages to denote celestial beings who dwell in the divine presence and serve as God's messengers or servants. They appear in the heavenly court where Satan also comes to present himself before God. Question 4. What challenge does Satan present to God about Job? A. That Job is only pious because God protects him. B. That Job does not truly understand piety. C. That Job's family is unfaithful. D. That Job secretly sins against God. Answer A. That Job is only pious because God protects him. Satan challenges God by suggesting that Job's piety is solely due to the divine protection and blessings he enjoys. Satan posits that if these were removed, Job would surely curse God to his face, thus questioning the sincerity of Job's faith. This is seen in Job 1-9-11, where Satan proposes that Job's righteousness is dependent on his prosperous and secure life. Question 5. How does Job initially react to this suffering and loss? A. By cursing God. B. By blaming his friends. C. By questioning his faith. D. By mourning yet still praising God. Answer D. By mourning yet still praising God. Initially, Job reacts to his suffering and loss by mourning. He shaves his head and tears his robes as signs of his grief. Yet he continues to bless the name of the Lord. In Job 1:21, Job says, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Despite his immense loss and suffering, Job does not sin or charge God with wrongdoing, showing his steadfast faith and integrity. Question 6. Who are Job's three friends who come to comfort him? A. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. B. Elihu, Peleg, and Serug. C. Nahor, Terah, and Haran. D. Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. Answer: A. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Job's three friends who come to comfort him and engage in lengthy dialogues concerning his suffering are Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. They each represent traditional and somewhat divergent views on the cause and purpose of suffering, contributing to the book's exploration of theodicy. Question 7. What is the main argument of Job's friend Eliphaz the Temanite? A. That suffering is a form of divine punishment for sin. B. That Job should repent for unknown sins. C. That God is indifferent to human suffering. D. That suffering is random and without divine cause. Answer: A. That suffering is a form of divine punishment for sin. Eliphaz the Temanite argues that suffering is a form of divine correction or punishment for sin. He maintains that no one is pure in God's eyes and suggests that Job's suffering might be God's way of chastising him for his sins, urging Job to seek God's favor through repentance. This view is encapsulated in his speeches across several chapters, starting in Job 4-7-11, where Eliphaz implies that those who plow iniquity and sow trouble reap the same. Question 8. How does Bildad the Shuhite describe the fate of the wicked? A. They prosper in life but suffer in death. B. They suffer throughout life without relief. C. They are punished with loss and despair. D. They have no hope and perish forever. Answer: D. They have no hope and perish forever. Bildad the Shuhite, in his discourses, particularly emphasizes that the wicked have no hope and ultimately perish, losing everything they value. In Job 8:13-19, Bildad describes how the hopes of the godless evaporate and their trust is a spider's web. They are insecure and their legacy is cut off, illustrating the transient and doomed fate of those who do not follow God's ways. Question 9. What is Zophar the Naamathite's view on the nature of wisdom? A. Wisdom is easily attainable by all. B. Wisdom is the secret treasure of the wicked. C. Wisdom is hidden and profound, attainable only by understanding God. D. Wisdom is irrelevant in the face of fate. Answer: C. Wisdom is hidden and profound, attainable only by understanding God. Zophar the Naamathite argues that true wisdom is deep, hidden, and not easily understood. It is found only through a profound understanding of God and his ways. In Job 11-6-9, Zophar speaks of wisdom's inaccessibility and depth, suggesting that understanding God's nature is key to attaining wisdom. Question 10. How does Job respond to his friends' accusations of sin? A. By accepting their assessments. B. By denying their claims and maintaining his integrity. C. By confessing to sins he did not commit. D. By asking for proof of the sin. Answer: B. By denying their claims and maintaining his integrity. In response to his friend's accusations that his suffering must be due to some hidden sin, Job vehemently denies their claims and maintains his integrity. He insists on his blamelessness and righteousness throughout the dialogues, particularly evident in Job 27-5-6, where he states that he will not relinquish his integrity or agree with their unjust accusations. Question 11. What kind of response does Job demand from God? A. A written explanation. B. A verbal confrontation. C. A public vindication. D. An apology. Answer: B. A verbal confrontation. Job demands a direct verbal confrontation with God, seeking an explanation for his suffering. He desires to argue his case before God and question him about the reasons for his pain, exemplifying his need for direct communication as seen in Job 13:22, where Job invites God to respond to this plea for understanding. Question 12. What are some of the key challenges Job poses to God about the justice of his suffering? A. Why the wicked prosper while the innocent suffer. B. Why suffering is necessary for spiritual growth. C. How his deeds warrant such severe punishment? D. All of the above. Answer D. All of the above. Throughout the dialogues, Job challenges God on several fronts regarding the justice of his suffering. He questions why the wicked often prosper while the innocent, like himself, suffer. Job 21 to 7:13. How his actions could possibly warrant the catastrophic losses he has endured. Job 6:29-30. And whether suffering is truly necessary for spiritual growth or understanding. Job 7:20-21. Question 13. What is the Leviathan that God describes in his speech to Job? A. A mythological sea creature. B. A symbol of chaos and evil. C. A real creature that Job must fear. D. A metaphysical concept of nature's untamable force. Answer A. A mythological sea creature. In God's speeches to Job, the Leviathan is described as a powerful and terrifying sea creature, emblematic of God's uncontrollable and incomprehensible power over creation. It is used to illustrate the point that just as humans cannot control or fully understand the Leviathan, so too are they unable to grasp God's ways or the complexity of his creation. This is detailed in Job 41, where God describes the might and terror of the Leviathan as beyond human reach or mastery. Question 14. How does God first address Job out of the whirlwind? A. By asking if Job was present at the creation of the world. B. By questioning Job's knowledge of the cosmos. C. By condemning Job's friends. D. By immediately comforting Job. Answer A. By asking if Job was present at the creation of the world. When God first speaks to Job out of the whirlwind, he questions Job's authority and knowledge by asking if he was present when the earth was formed, setting the tone for a series of questions that highlight God's omnipotence and wisdom compared to human limitations. This is seen in Job 38-4. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Question 15. What does God's response to Job primarily focus on? A. Job's lack of faith. B. The moral weaknesses of humanity. C. The vastness of God's creation and his control over it. D. Specific answers to Job's questions. Answer C. The vastness of God's creation and his control over it. God's response to Job primarily focuses on the vastness of his creation and his absolute control over it. Through a series of questions about the natural world, God demonstrates his unique authority and wisdom, emphasizing that his ways are too complex for Job or any human to understand. This underlines the theme that God governs the universe with a perspective and knowledge far beyond human capacity, as illustrated across Job 38 and 39. Question 16. How many chapters in the book of Job are dedicated to God's speeches? A. 2 chapters. B. 4 chapters. C. 3 chapters. D. 5 chapters. Answer B. 4 chapters. God's speeches in the book of Job span 4 chapters, from chapters 38 to 41. These chapters contain the divine response to Job and his friends, where God speaks out of the whirlwind, questioning Job and describing the magnificence of his creation, thereby asserting his omnipotence and the limitations of human understanding. Question 17. What is the purpose of the hymn to wisdom in Job 28? A. To highlight the prosperity that wisdom can bring. B. To demonstrate that wisdom is beyond human comprehension. C. To contrast the power of God with human frailty. D. To show the rewards of living a godly life. Answer B. To demonstrate that wisdom is beyond human comprehension. Job 28 serves as a hymn to wisdom, emphasizing that true wisdom is elusive and resides solely with God. It contrasts the human endeavor of mining precious metals and gems with the search for wisdom, concluding that wisdom cannot be bought or found in the land of the living, but is known only to God, as stated in Job 28:12-28. Question 18. In what way is Job's integrity tested by Satan? A. By taking away his family. B. By challenging his health. C. By stripping away his wealth. D. All of the above. Answer D. All of the above. Job's integrity is tested by Satan through a series of devastating losses, including his wealth, his health, and his family. These trials are meant to prove whether Job's piety is genuine or simply a byproduct of his prosperity and health, as Satan claims that Job would curse God if his blessings were removed. Question 19. What restoration or compensation does Job receive at the end of the book? A. Twice the wealth he originally had. B. New family members. C. Restoration of his health. D. All of the above. Answer D. All of the above. At the end of the book of Job, God restores Job's fortunes, giving him twice as much as he had before. Job also receives new children, replacing those he lost, and his health is restored. This final chapter signifies the restoration of Job's life and blessings as a reward for his faithfulness through extreme suffering. Question 20. What is the significance of Job's sacrifice for his friends at the end of the book? A. It symbolizes Job's forgiveness. B. It acts as an atonement for their wrong advice. C. It restores Job's relationship with God. D. All of the above. Answer D. All of the above. The sacrifice Job makes for his friends at the end of the book serves multiple significant purposes. It symbolizes Job's forgiveness towards his friends for their misguided counsel, acts as an atonement for their wrongs, and helps restore Job's direct relationship with God. This act of intercession highlights Job's righteousness and the importance of reconciliation. Question 21. What are the names of Job's daughters mentioned at the end of the book? A. Keziah, Jemimah, and Karen-Happuch. B. Miriam, Deborah, and Huldah. C. Rachel, Leah, and Dinah. D. Sarah, Rebecca, and Esther. Answer A. Keziah, Jemimah, and Karen-Happuch. The names of Job's daughters mentioned at the end of the book are Jemimah, Keziah, and Karen-Happuch. These names are significant as they are noted for their beauty, and Job gives them an inheritance among their brothers, which is notable in the cultural context of the time. Question 22. How does the book of Job challenge the retributive justice theory? A. By showing that the wicked sometimes prosper. B. By depicting the righteous suffering. C. By questioning the direct correlation between sin and punishment. D. All of the above. Answer T. All of the above. The book of Job challenges the retributive justice theory, which posits that good is always rewarded and evil is always punished in this life. Job's undeserved sufferings, the prosperity of the wicked, and the intense debates about the reasons behind suffering serve to question and complicate this simplistic understanding of divine justice. Question 23. How is the sovereignty of God portrayed in the book of Job? A. Through his control over nature. B. By his ultimate authority in allowing and limiting Satan's actions. C. Through the restoration of Job's fortunes. D. All of the above. Answer D. All of the above. God's sovereignty in the book of Job is portrayed through his control over nature, his authority over Satan, by allowing and limiting his actions against Job, and through the ultimate restoration of Job's fortunes. This comprehensive dominion underscores God's absolute power and the human incapacity to fully grasp his divine plan. Question 24. What poetic structure is used throughout the book of Job? A. Narrative prose. B. Free verse. C. Rhymed couplets. D. Acrostic poetry. Answer A. Narrative prose. While much of the book of Job is written in a poetic format, using parallelism and heightened language typical of Hebrew poetry, it also includes narrative prose, particularly in the prologue and epilogue. The poetic dialogues between Job and his friends, as well as the divine speeches, utilize a complex structure of poetic lines rather than traditional narrative prose. Question 25. Who is Elihu and what role does he play in the dialogue with Job? A. A critic of the three friends' arguments. B. An advocate of retributive justice. C. A young man who presents a new perspective. D. All of the above. Answer D. All of the above. Elihu is a younger bystander who enters the dialogue after Job's three friends have spoken. He criticizes the arguments of the three friends and challenges Job's assertions of innocence. Elihu's role is to introduce a new perspective, emphasizing God's justice and wisdom, and to prepare the way for God's direct speech. Question 26. How does Job describe his previous life before his suffering began? A. As filled with fear and caution. B. As a time of great wealth and respect. C. As humble and unnoticed. D. As troubled and difficult. Answer B. As a time of great wealth and respect. Job describes his life before his trials as one of great wealth, respect, and piety. He was revered in the community, lived righteously, and enjoyed the blessings of a large family and abundant possessions, which is reflected in his lamentations about his former days of peace and prosperity, such as in Job 29. Question 27. What theological questions about human suffering does the book of Job raise? A. Why do the righteous suffer? B. Is God just in allowing suffering? C. Can humans understand divine wisdom? D. All of the above. Answer D. All of the above. The book of Job raises multiple theological questions concerning human suffering, including why righteous individuals like Job suffer, whether God is just in allowing such suffering, and the limits of human ability to understand God's divine wisdom and purposes behind suffering. Question 28. How are Job's wealth and family status described at the beginning and end of the book? A. Constant throughout the book. B. Decreased by the end. C. Lost initially but fully restored. D. Increased significantly by the end. Answer C. Lost initially but fully restored. Job's wealth and family status are described as abundant at the beginning of the book, lost through his trials, and then fully restored at the end. He receives double the wealth he had before and is blessed with new children, marking a restoration that echoes the restoration of his faith and integrity. Question 29. What allegorical or symbolic meanings have been attributed to Job's suffering? A. A test of faith. B. An allegory for Israel's suffering. C. A representation of human existential struggle. D. All of the above. Answer D. All of the above. Job's suffering has been interpreted in various allegorical and symbolic ways. As a test of faith, an allegory for the collective suffering of Israel, and a broader representation of the human existential struggle with suffering, faith, and the search for meaning amidst adversity. Question 30. How does Job's story reflect ancient Near Eastern literature? A. Through its poetic dialogue. B. By its thematic exploration of divine justice. C. Through its inclusion of a cosmic bet between divine beings. D. All of the above. Answer D. All of the above. Job's story reflects influences from ancient Near Eastern literature through its poetic form, thematic exploration of questions about divine justice and order, and narrative elements such as the cosmic wager between God and Satan, which are motifs found in other ancient literatures, highlighting the shared cultural and religious questions of the time.